Blessings, everyone. It's Sunday, it's the 15th of August, and it's just after 2 p.m. in Edinburgh. This morning, I had a conversation with Lotus that I'm staying with. And he had been speaking to his family in India. And he asked me about the conversation that he had had, which was that the conversation started off with a question, and then at the end of the conversation, there was the same question that came back. And he was asking me if I'd ever experienced that. It's quite a big question for me. So I'm just sharing this because I feel it's very relevant to the present energies as well. So it might be helpful to someone that's listening. First of all, when he asked me about the conversation, I wanted to keep it simple and easy in terms of my reply. Communication is a big deal. It's always been a big deal for me because I've always been tapped in to source and also into the higher self. So my life has been about knowing when to listen, when not to speak. And it's very important to know when to speak. When there is, you could call it a separation in the communication where it's not meeting, it's not harmonizing, then it's really better to say nothing. And when you have a high vibrational conversation with someone and that person is conscious, then they'll know that the conversation is about connecting through the higher energies. High vibrational conversations are not just about the words, but they carry a lot of energy into the field. So anyone that's connected with your energy field, for example, will experience the message of a high vibe conversation. It also has a place that is, it has an outcome which is about freedom. Now that means that there's a purpose in the conversation, and that two people engaging in conversation that is coming from a conscious place, as I said earlier, they will know that there's a purpose in it. And this is about feeling it. It's not so much about the words, although they're important. It's about the energy and being able to be selective in terms of how you respond to one another. When I'm having a conversation with someone who comes to see me, for example, and who is seeking support, first of all, the conversation will begin with a blessing, and then the energy that's shared will elevate, and it will come back as a place of deep connection. It's at that point when there is a deep connection that I know that I'm supposed to work with this person in terms of transmitting energy. And that's really how I get my clients, my soul family that come in and seek support. And I call it divine timing. Divine timing is about where there's synchronicity and there's a feeling of, yeah. So someone that someone that wants to come and see me, for example, will know when we meet or when we have our first conversation, our first communication. They will know because the energy throughout the words and the connection actually bring us into a place and a reality which deeply connects and is a response to the healing that's needed. So there's always the certainty, and the energies at the present time are very much about elevation, knowing how to respond and how to connect through words. So Lotus's response to his Indian family and coming back with a feeling of, oh, what was that all about? Because there was a feeling that he didn't really receive a reply to the question. But in essence, it wasn't up to him to ask the question, and it wasn't up to him to receive the reply, because the energies were communicating on their own. And he had gone into his mind. These high vibrational conversations and communications are about feeling. And there's a dialogue that comes from a place of pure source energy. So feeling your way into the conversation or the exchange that's happening is very important. And my answer to Lotus was trying to keep it simple, because I could see that he was questioning and he was in his head, was that, first of all, there was a time gap in the conversation. So when he was speaking, it wasn't being heard immediately. It was being heard at a later part of the conversation. And that can happen. And secondly, the response to the question and it coming back at the end of the conversation was completion. And the completion was about not knowing. And allowing the energies that were transmitted throughout the conversation to actually find the answer. And it would come back at a later time, a later date. I can't get a word for that. So, for example, if you're having a conversation with someone and you're seeking something within the conversation, what is being searched for will actually show itself through a place that is divinely connected, I would call it. It actually comes in to the conversation without any expectation or without any seeking. It's when we let go of it that we get the answer. And there's an important message in this that I'm sharing with you, because there's a great deal of silence on the planet. And everyone is doing the work in their own way. There's lots of downloading from the cosmos and what we call downtime, where people are resting, they're taking their time, everything's very slow, and it's also a place of deep awareness that's growing on the planet itself. So Gaia is opening up from inside the core, and she's in her birthing process, and all of us as part of her are birthing our own connection with the new earth and the new energies that are coming in. There are no answers. So I feel that what Lotus experienced was there's a feeling of control, which it's universal. It's coming in, and it's probably dropped in at the beginning of the conversation, and his need to respond to that was he was feeling it in his body, and then it didn't have an outcome, so there was a need for him to really accept that. He's also in time. When you're living in the moment, it doesn't matter. Things dissolve, words disappear, energies open up when we're in conversation that allow us to receive through the heart. And it's the spaces between the words and the spaces between us that bring the oneness into being. So we have this very deep sense of connection there, particularly at heart level. And we also have an amazing feeling of gratitude for what is being shared. And this gratitude brings in this really amazing soul food where we're feeling that we're receiving nourishment. And we receive what we need throughout the conversation, not what we're seeking. So it's very beautiful, and it's extremely grounding for the individuals and for the planet to be able to dialogue in that way. So I'm sharing this message today. It feels that it's necessary to allow you can hear it in my voice, being extremely selective about the words that we choose to speak. What we speak, it comes directly from source, and we can feel it in the heart. And there's a feeling of how the breath changes. The feeling that we have when we fall in love with someone, for example, that really powerful feeling of connection, oneness, and yes, this person knows me. Because the mirror is so strong and the oneness is so powerful that we have this really beautiful, loving feeling inside us. It's the same. In reality, we're falling in love all the time. We fall in love with everyone that we meet. And when we're in a conversation that reaches the heights and where it really connects fully through the heart, there's a very deep, deep sense of knowing. I am loved. I love you. Beautiful connection. So on that note, I'm going to leave you with that message. Yeah. So have a beautiful day. And I'll speak to you soon. Namaste.